Imagine your organization with a digital immune system. Threats are detected early, contained fast, and services stay available. Under DORA. That's exactly what an ICT risk management framework must deliver. In this module, we'll turn that requirement into a practical, actionable design you can actually operate. For years, ICT and cyber risk sat in silos. IT worried about systems, the business about processes, and risk teams about capital and compliance. Under DORA, that model no longer works. Financial stability now depends on how these functions operate as a single resilient system. The EU rulebook is unified, and the focus shifts from just protecting capital to keeping critical services running. That means leadership owns ICT risk as a prudential issue, withstand disruptions, respond effectively, and recover fast. Digital operational resilience under DORA starts with governance. The management body is the brain of the framework. It owns ICT risk, full stop. Accountability cannot be outsourced to IT, vendors, or consultants. Leaders must approve a clear resilience strategy, define how much risk the organization is willing to take, and back that with budget, tools, and skilled people. They also need active oversight, regular reporting, challenging explanations, and follow-up on major incidents and test results. Article 6 makes this explicit. "We didn't know" is not a valid defense. A compliant risk management framework under DORA isn't a checklist, it's an ecosystem. You begin with identification, knowing your assets, critical services, data, and dependencies mapped to business impact. Next comes protection, preventive controls, hardened access, and a reduced attack surface. Detection adds continuous monitoring, so issues are spotted early, not days later. Response is structured incident management with clear roles, playbooks, and communication paths. Recovery covers disaster recovery and business continuity, so critical services come back within tolerance. Across all of this sits continuous learning, updating policies and controls after tests, changes, and incidents. Identification under DORA starts with a brutally clear question. If a specific server, database, or SaaS platform fails, which business service actually stops? Answering that needs more than an asset list. It requires a living digital twin of your environment, where every technical asset is mapped to the processes it supports and to the third parties it depends on. Article 8 effectively demands this structure. Without it, you're guessing which failures matter most, and you can't do meaningful risk assessment, impact analysis, or incident response. Business impact analysis asks, when ICT fails, how long until the business really gets hurt? You trace the chain, a technical failure, then process stoppage, then financial, legal, and customer impact. 3 parameters guide resilience planning. Maximum tolerable downtime is the point at which damage becomes unacceptable or irreversible. Recovery time objective is how fast you aim to restore the service. Recovery point objective is how much data loss you can tolerate. Because resilience resources are limited, BIA helps decide which services need the strongest protection. Think of DORA risk assessment as running a calculator across your ICT landscape. First, you continuously identify potential events: cyber attacks, human error, system failures, third-party outages. Then you score each risk by combining likelihood and impact. High likelihood, high impact scenarios sit in the danger zone. Effective controls should move that score down. Inherent risk is the level before controls. Residual risk is what remains after you apply and actually test those controls. This is not a one-off exercise. Under DORA, you must reassess at least annually, and whenever there are major changes to systems, services, or key suppliers. Risk appetite is the overall level of ICT and operational risk the organization is willing to live with. Under DORA, the management body must define this clearly and link it to business objectives. Impact tolerances are more concrete. They set measurable limits, like maximum downtime for a critical service. Between the two, you need early warning thresholds, so you react before you breach your appetite or impact tolerances. Once you've identified and assessed an ICT risk, DORA expects a conscious treatment decision. Think in 4 basic moves: mitigate, reduce likelihood or impact with controls, such as hardening systems or improving monitoring; transfer, shift part of the impact, for example through cyber insurance or outsourcing, while keeping ultimate accountability; accept, live with the residual risk, but track it, justify it, and review it. Avoid, stop, or redesign the risky activity entirely. Selection should follow cost-benefit and risk appetite, use mapped control libraries, and be recorded so every material risk has an owner, a plan, and a deadline. Your DORA control library is a set of layered defenses wrapped around your critical data and services. At the core, you protect identities, strong authentication, least privilege access, and timely removal of rights. Around that, you secure applications and networks through hardening, segmentation, and encryption, so a single breach cannot move laterally. You still need traditional physical security for data centers and offices, and disciplined change management so every modification is tested, approved, and traceable. The key principle: every control must address a clearly documented risk, with owners and evidence to prove it. Identity and change are two places supervisors look first, because failures here quickly become major incidents. On identity, every user and system account must have a clear owner, a specific purpose, and only the minimum access needed. High privilege accounts are tightly controlled, monitored, and regularly reviewed and reapproved, not granted forever. On change, nothing critical is modified directly in production. Changes are logged, assessed for risk, tested in separate environments, formally approved, and only then deployed with a clearly defined, practiced rollback plan if something goes wrong. Under DORA, backup and monitoring are two sides of the same resilience coin. Backup and recovery are about survivability. Can you restore critical systems and data within your RTO and RPO from locations genuinely independent of the primary environment? And have you proved this with real restoration tests? Monitoring and logging are about visibility. Can you automatically spot anomalies in time? And do you keep logs long enough, in enough detail, to reconstruct incidents and demonstrate root cause to regulators and auditors? To meet DORA expectations, ICT risk can't live in its own silo. It has to plug into your enterprise risk management framework so cyber scenarios are assessed, prioritized, and funded like any other major risk. First, align taxonomies. The way you define impact, likelihood, and risk categories for ICT should mirror credit, market, and operational risk, so aggregated dashboards make sense. Second, feed ICT scenarios into capital and budgeting discussions. Major outages or cyber attacks can drive capital needs and resilience investments. Finally, ensure reporting lines converge. ICT risk metrics and incidents must escalate into the Central Risk Committee, not stop at IT. DORA only works if you treat it as a loop, not a one-off project. Incidents trigger investigations, and those lessons feed directly into your policies, controls, and contracts. Audits and threat-led tests then stress test that new setup and expose fresh gaps. You update the framework again, retrain people, tune monitoring, and improve playbooks. Then you review, did risk actually go down, and can you prove it with evidence? The environment, threats, and business keep changing. Under DORA, static security is dead security. Resilience depends on this continuous improvement rhythm. To turn DORA into an executable plan, start by cleaning up your foundations. Make sure you have a single, reliable inventory that links systems, data, providers, and business services. Without that map, nothing else works. Next, get the board to explicitly approve ICT risk appetite and impact tolerances, not just note them. Then run a focused gap assessment against the DORA pillars and RTS. Finally, embed ICT risk and incident reporting into regular board and executive routines. Compliance is the baseline. Disciplined resilience is your long-term edge.